Set.
Ready, and action!
Hey, I'm Steve Holleran, and I'm the cinematographer of Sympathy for the Devil. As a young kid, I was always really interested in adventure. I loved adventure books. I loved the great exploration stories, things like Ernest Shackleton going to the South Pole, things of that nature. I fell in love with this idea that I was going to travel the world with a camera and, maybe I'd be a National Geographic guy and I would chase snow leopards through the Himalayas or something like that. But I went after it, and I started shooting more documentaries. That's how I fell in love with the camera. Now I'm going to show you how I lit some of the scenes from Sympathy for the Devil.
Well, I've never been happy. You know why?
This shot is of the passenger about 30 minutes into the movie. They're driving down a fairly dark road outside of Vegas. I knew it was one that would really give Nick a moment to perform in his own frame. We showed off a lot of the volume wall. All the tech people said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I knew with the type of lensing that I brought and the way I was gonna frame it, that there was a good chance it was gonna work. And I think it worked, and I would do it again. So all the lights that you see back here, these are all practically captured. These reflections that go down the windowsill, these are all coming off the volume. So the majority of the driving sequences in the movie are a combination of volume and real material. And it was a challenge. We shot the plates at the beginning, then we shot all of the exterior, there's certain moments in the movie where the car stops and stuff happens around the car. We shot all of that. Then we shot the volume work, and all the stuff has to match. And we did a lot of night testing with those. So we'd stick it on a car and we'd drive around Vegas at night on a route that we thought was similar to what was gonna be the actual route. We'd put the stuff up on the wall the next day. We'd all start cussing and swearing because none of it was working. And so the way to do it was to get 8 or 9 small cameras that shot 4K or more and that had really good low light capabilities. And that was Alpha series, the A7S3s. We put them in an array on a car that was about the same height as the picture car so we could get the right perspective that allowed us to get the plates that we needed. And so you get plate, the plate adds ambiance and certain reflections. And then you add additionals, right? Like here, these lights here are from LED tubes right above the car. And then it's on a repeat pattern. You get your top-down reflections that slide past the glass. You have a glow here from an overhead source that's gonna be passing this way in camera. And we augmented it with a 600 there. And then there's lighting Nick himself. Right outside of the car, there's a bigger soft source. It's also creating the eye lights here. It's a pretty big source, and we mapped a chase pattern into this key and into the backlight. So this is constantly moving and changing colors. And all of that together creates this ambiance of a moving vehicle.
And the cause was the mucus man.
This is another volume shot of our driver, Joel Kinnaman here, looking back at Nick. This is another shot outside the car. You have the plate running back here and down in here. You use this kind of foreground here as well, just to add a bit of reality and authenticity as well. The more of the car you can see, the better. We have our reflections here, and we have these really big reflections right here. And this is coming from an LED tube or 2 that are sitting right above it, shooting straight down, and it's got a chase pattern on it. It's got a couple colors in it, and it just rotates through. And then we have a key light that's coming from this direction. This is all this right here that you see on Joel. That's an LED source through a diffusion. There will be occasional specks of light coming from this direction. That would be a nova in the background to create extra little pops here. When it came to color, we went early into Las Vegas, went on the route the car was gonna go on and took color readings, and then we saved those colors. And so this is like a sodium vapor look we took from the highway. And that's how we create this world with specularity, movement, and darkness all in one.
All right, now listen. There's a certain man, his associates were the ones who found you in the first place.
My lighting and the strong color choices came from a number of sources from the script. Las Vegas is a vibrant place. It's known as City of Neon Lights, amongst other things. And so I started looking at the Neon Museum in Las Vegas. I happened to be staying close by to it, and so I'd walk through the museum at night and look at the different neons. I brought that sensibility in. So this is the beginning of the diner sequence. And this is a fairly long dolly shot that starts outside the diner, carries our two actors all the way into where they go to sit down. The diner was done half at night and half day for night. Have a ton of practicals. So you have this neon. They're all brought in by the production design department. These all had to be controlled. They all had to be gelled. They all had to be checked for frequency because sometimes the neons like fluctuate in frequency. This was a custom Roadhouse sign that was built and then had LED strips installed in the background, and this was like a hero sign. We lit the kitchen back here ourselves. This is all tubes and a 600. I replaced all the practicals in the entire diner with my own controllable LED bulbs because one, I can control the intensity and bring them all into like a level where it fits nicely together. Like you don't want to have this light way too bright. I mean, this shows you what the camera and lenses can do. This glow here on the outside ceiling is all from that light. I added a little glow from a soft source just to create like a night effect all along this wall here. And then all of these little pinpricks are just free reflections. And the rest of this whole world here is completely blacked out to cut out all the reflections because there's a lot of street lights and car headlights. And then since our dolly shot works all the way into here, like this shot keeps going, we didn't want to see ourselves, so we're completely blacked out too. So the red that you see on Nick and Joel here is one from this neon sign. It's actually quite bright. And we had another source that we controlled ourselves, which was a LED panel light diffused coming off frame to kind of kick that up a little bit.
Hey, you're not listening to me. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story.
So this is a great moment between Nick and Joel. It's a power shot. It also has like really strong line components here. The other big thing with this shot is it's actually done in daytime, and we blacked out the whole thing. So that's like 140 foot, 20 foot tall blackout. This is actually Duvetine right here, and it's set 15 feet off the glass. Very, very hot out there, like probably 130 degrees because that's daytime Vegas. And this had to cut with all the other shots, which were often done at night. Brought a key in from here, which is a tube in the ceiling that has a snap grid on it. Another tube here. These are pretty low ceilings. These are like 8.5 foot ceilings. Another tube here to help accentuate the hair light. And then there's a fill component that's coming off the floor right here. There's black flags behind camera to slow down all the other reflections that would come out of the rest of the diner. Left this neon on. We probably spent more time on that neon than anything else in the shot, just to get it to work in the world, to get it to come down in intensity, to get it to not have that rolling flicker. And then these are two little like Harbor Freight flashlights on C-stands that we ran across in the background until we could get them to reflect in the window, just to add some specks of light there to help sell that that's all Duvetine blackout.
As I was saying, your wife's at labor and delivery.
This is the climax of the movie. Got our two main characters sitting here after a big fight. We needed to communicate the idea that there's a big fire raging on in the background, but we couldn't show fire because there was nothing to burn. It's too expensive. It's extremely dangerous. And the way we did it was with Aputure Novas. Well over a dozen, if not more, rigged into a truss system on a boom lift. All of this light here is coming from this direction, from that boom lift. Creates this flicker pattern all through here and fills in the smoke. And a couple big LED panels over here to push through the smoke. A couple of LED tubes hung from the top of the trucks that you can't see coming down to provide a bit of ambience, and a push of a hard light from behind camera to give a bit of fill and a bit of specularity to the front of the shot. It's trying to ride the line between reality and silhouette, with some cinematic feeling to it. So this shot is of our driver running away from our passenger, and we have a number of vehicles on fire. We have one that's actually on fire here and one right behind it, mostly out of frame. There's two flame bars that run underneath these cars, and this car actually lit on fire. So that's providing a lot of this illumination that you see here, but we also have a 9 light providing this, a lot of that source on him directly. And then all of this strong ambience here is from that big Nova fire rig that we built. and a backlight in the background that's pushing down off the condor. So that's coming this way. And it's also pushing back into here. And then this ambience and the smoke is from our Nova rig. And that fleshes out this whole scene. You know, you buy a ton of free ambience off this burning car, and so we shot it while it was happening. So the non-obvious skill set that I didn't know as a young filmmaker, but I wished I did, has a few parts. The first part is communication. It's knowing how to sell an idea and to sell it within the confines of the story and the production. How do you take an idea that you like, that you think works for the story, and pitch it to the powers that be? Because it needs to be delivered in the right kind of way to work in the environment and to be accepted. Sometimes your ideas get accepted and sometimes they don't. You know, but you can also hold on to ideas that don't sell at the moment and use them somewhere else at some other time. Something else tangentially related is salesmanship. I didn't realize when I was first starting out as a cinematographer that there's a ton of pitching yourself, your vision, your skills, your story to directors and producers and agencies that can connect you to the next opportunity. I just thought it was a purely art-based thing. I think the project that gave me my shot as a cinematographer, I had become friends with a classmate of mine, also named Steven, who wanted to be a director. When he was finishing up school, he told me about a short film that he'd written called The Land of Misfits, which was set in his hometown of Cleveland. And that short film turned into a feature for him. The movie ended up going to Sundance, and I was exposed to the filmmaking world, the indie Hollywood world. You know, I signed with someone, and in my head, I thought I'd made it, you know? In retrospect, it's one little step on a very long ladder. And so I've learned that over time, that it's a multi-pronged business and you're as much an entrepreneur as you are an artist. And I would tell all young filmmakers, definitely hone that side of you.